Hello there, Tom here from the Run Testers with another running shoe versus. In this one, we're going to be looking at two quite different shoes, the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2 and the Nike Vaporfly 4. Let's have a look. Saucony Endorphin Elite 2 costs £280 or $290. It weighs 206 grams or 7.3 ounces for men in size 8, and the drop is 8mm. The Nike Vaporfly 4 costs £239.99 or $270. It weighs 171 grams or 6 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 6mm. The Saucony Endorphin Elite 2 features major updates from the previous model, making it almost unrecognisable to those who've used the original Endorphin Elite. It now uses IncrediRUN foam, a next-generation superfoam designed for high energy return and a lightweight, cushioned and extremely soft feel. And there's a full-length slotted carbon fibre plate that works with the Speedroll rocker to support smooth transitions and forward momentum. The upper is made from a featherweight knit and mesh material that provides breathability and a secure fit, and there's also a fairly generous layer of outsole rubber for grip and durability. Nike has made some big changes in the fourth version of one of the world's most popular race shoes, aiming to focus development on producing a noticeably lighter shoe than its predecessors. That's been achieved by trimming the outsole, midsole and modifying the upper, removing around 5mm of stack height compared to the Vaporfly 3. Nike also says that the ZoomX foam used is lighter than the previous version, and the carbon fibre plate is positioned at a higher angle than that used in the Vaporfly 3, which works alongside a lower heel-to-toe drop to improve the propulsion of the shoe. The upper is made from a lightweight engineered mesh with a new reduced sized heel and tongue, and the outsole sees a thinner layer of rubber across the length of the shoe.
Fit then, and I ran in a UK 8.5, US 9.5 in both of these shoes. With the Endorphin Elite, you get enough length in the toe box, you get good clearance across the top of the big toes. The toe box also has some structure to it, and that's really good for keeping those uppers away from your toes. So this shoe has no black toenail woes over even longer, the longer distances you're going to run. That's not the case with all carbon shoes. The integrated tongues I find wrap and hold for good comfort, something I don't always get along with. Get excellent lockdown across the top of the foot. However, I do find that they come up somewhat tight and narrow and squished around the little toe on the outer edge. It was only a worry on sort of the longest runs. But I'd recommend maybe looking closely at that size if you've got wide feet or you're a fan of more room for your toes to splay. For the Vaporfly 4, I felt the fit was good overall with a good balance of hold and flex. The uppers wrap nicely, but they move and flex with your foot. So what you get is kind of like a race hugging fit, but they don't feel cramped. It feels a bit more flexible because of that. At times where I didn't pay enough attention to the lacing, I did have some heel slipping. That was fixed though by lashing the laces down more precisely, so just pay attention to that. And I stayed true to size, I think, in both of these shoes.
Okay, so the fit for me in these two shoes, I'm not going to do the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2. As you can see, I've got this weird colourway, which is actually a fashion version of the shoe. So it doesn't have normal laces on it. It has a sort of pull tab thing on it, and the upper is a little bit different than you get on the standard running shoe version of this. So I wouldn't advise getting this shoe because it's not particularly well designed for runners. It's designed for fashion and people walking around, although it's quite an odd shoe if you're just going to be walking around in it. But I'm not going to give you my fit on this one, so you're going to have to go with what Kieran says on that because nobody's going to buy this upper. The Nike Vaporfly 4 is actually, for a complex race shoe and for a shoe that's so small and lean and light, it's actually fairly roomy. There's plenty of space for the big toe for me. The forefoot has quite a lot of room in it, and the midfoot, I've got fairly average width feet, and I feel like there's still a little bit of give in it. So it's definitely a shoe that, surprisingly, for something that I assume to be quite lean on the feet, is actually fairly comfortable and fairly roomy. There's a little bit of padding around the back, not loads, and the tongue is fairly thin, but it's fine. It's a comfortable shoe to wear. I think the spacing's really good, and I would definitely stay to my UK size 8 in this shoe. Okay, so this versus doing two carbon plate race shoes, they're very different. And if you're looking at buying a carbon plate race shoe and you're not sure which one to go for, and these two are in your list, then they're pretty easy one to choose between. You just got to know what sort of shoe you're looking for, because these are two extremes. I'll start with the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2 because this is one of my favourite shoes at the moment. I absolutely love this shoe. It is a funny shoe for a lot of people because this foam is so soft. if you just go for a walk in it, it just feels like it's just like squishing down. And when you're walking it, you don't really feel the energy return back from it. It just feels really, really soft. It always feels like a shoe that you wouldn't want to go running in if you're walking in it, because you're not really feeling what that foam does. When you go out for a run in it, that changes. You do get a lot of bounce back from this shoe. It is still a very soft shoe. Obviously, hitting it with more impact, you're really taking the brunt into this midsole, but you do get a lot of bounce back from it. Now, I really love soft shoes. I love soft shoes. I love bouncy shoes. I love really wide midsoles on things. So I've got lots of nice, comfortable support. This does all of that. It's a really, really comfortable, soft, bouncy shoe, but it's an extreme of soft, comfortable, bouncy shoes. So it's not like a shoe that is a little bit bouncy and a little bit soft. It's really takes you to the next level. So if you are looking for a shoe that maybe is a bit more balanced, you're probably not going to like this, because it just takes things a little bit too far with it, and I think you lose quite a bit of stability you lose in this shoe because of that softness in the midsole. It's quite a wide shoe, so it's not unbelievably bad, but depending on how much you weigh and how you run, it's not a particularly stable shoe. But it is a very enjoyable shoe. I love this shoe for, I'd say I used it for 5k and 10k now races. A few part runs actually I've used it for. At short distances, I find it absolutely fine. It doesn't feel nimble on the feet. It feels like you've got quite a big chunky shoe on your feet, but it doesn't seem to impact my times. I feel like when it's on my feet, I'm not really slowing down. It doesn't feel like I've got a load of shoe on my foot, because it does feel relatively light and bouncy. So I still have pretty much my fastest times in this shoe, but it doesn't feel like a shoe that really should be used for that. It's a shoe that feels like it should be used for half marathons, for marathons where you want comfort, you want bounce, you want that longevity in the ride. The only downside, I think, is if you ran a marathon in this shoe, you might struggle a little bit with the lack of stability. That bouncy, squishy foam might become a little bit taxing to you later on, because you lose a bit of control in the shoe. But I really do like it. It's probably one of my favourite shoes at the moment, and for my style of running, I just really, really enjoy going out for a nice bouncy run in this. The Nike Vaporfly 4 is the opposite. So previous Vaporflies, Vaporfly 2 specifically, was the shoe that everyone used for races until more and more foam came in, better shoes came in. And the Vaporfly 3 was a bit softer than the 2, and I wasn't really a fan of it. I didn't really like using it. It just didn't feel like I was getting a lot from it. The energy return was pretty minimal for me. Whereas the Vaporfly 4, the stack has been decreased. So for me, and it definitely feels a little bit leaner and narrower than the 3. For me, it's now become a shoe that's not really tailored very well towards longer distance sessions. So I definitely wouldn't use this if I was racing a half marathon. It'd be fine, I think, for some people. For me, I just find it a little bit too limiting. I'd like a bit more stack height. I like a little more softness and bounce. I definitely wouldn't use this for a marathon. I think if you were a seasoned runner, elite club runner, you'd be fine. You probably have used this for it. But for me, and for people who like soft, bouncy shoes like me, you don't get a lot of that from the shoe. It's nimble, it's lightweight, it feels quick on the acceleration, but for longer distances, it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of support in this shoe. It's a pretty narrow feeling shoe that you want to go run out fast for a short period of time, it's great. If you want to run for a long period of time, you're probably not going to get a lot from this in terms of energy return and stuff. So if I was comparing between these two shoes, there are a massive difference. It really comes down to that softness, that size of the shoe, the bulk, the energy return, all that sort of stuff. So very different rides in both of these shoes. The Vaporfly 4 definitely feels quick when you start off, but just loses that comfort that I want. The Elite 2 feels slow when you start off in some ways, just because it feels like it's sort of sinking a bit more, but I don't think it is. I think it's just an experience that it has because of that softer midsole foam. So very different shoes. And the outsole, I would say, on the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2, so pretty good outsole on this on the front, pretty thick layer, not particularly tacky rubber, but a good layer. The back, worryingly, I just noticed this earlier today, I'm starting to wear this off a bit, so I'm gonna have to stick some shoe goo on this to make sure that I can continue to use these. So this midsole foam is really delicate. So once this rubber goes down, I think you're really going to see an issue with the durability of this midsole foam. The Vaporfly 4. Now the outsole on the foot is really good. Really thick layer of rubber, covers the whole thing. Feels very sturdy. The back section, these two rubbery bits at the back, I haven't ripped them off. And the Vaporfly 3, I ripped off the back. I supinate a bit, and I ripped off the rubber of the Vaporfly 3 within 5k, which is upsetting. But these I haven't yet. There's a bit of wear coming off there, but I feel pretty good here. So yeah, pretty good outsole on the Vaporfly 4. So probably pretty similar with both of these, to be honest, with the amount of rubber. I just think the actual quality of the rubber on the Vaporfly 4 is a bit sturdier than on the Endorphin Elite 2.
Onto the run test then, and I've done north of 40 miles in both shoes, right across the pace range. I've done plenty of long time on feet, 90-minute marathon training runs, that kind of thing. I also did an all-out 550-minute mile in the Endorphin Elite 2. My Vaporfly 4 testing included an all-out 10-miler where I set a new PB at that distance. I've also logged some slower, shorter runs in both just to see what they feel like when you're a bit more ragged. Now, in the Endorphin Elite 2, this is a very capable, fast, racy kind of PR chaser that really delivers when you're running fast, but concentrating on good form, working hard with good foot placement. And when you're punching this kind of high rebound forefoot stack, this super soft IncrediRUN into the ground with purpose, they deliver everything that you really need from a propulsive leg-sparing carbon race shoe. I would happily lace these up for a marathon or half in the right conditions, and they are up there in my kind of top kind of carbon race shoes, even though now I guess they're sort of slightly older, but they come with a warning. I think some runners may well struggle with how soft that sort of foam is, and the fact that because of that kind of big old squish on it, they lack a lot of stability. They're quite a wild shoe, and depending on how you strike in the shoe, they lack some reliability in their landings. At time, there is also a bit of a disconnect between the forefoot and their heel because of the structure of this kind of midsole, the setup here. So it's not always natural and smooth in the transition. Mid to forefoot strikers won't notice so much. I think heel strikers, or if you're landing sort of a bit flatter, you might notice that a bit more. But when you're moving fresh, moving well, these shoes are on your team. And when you get really tired or end up on an uneven surface or a twisty tight course, that lack of control might present some problems. But overall, Saucony has delivered a race day ride I think that's pretty unique. And like the first gen, they maybe will divide opinion, but yeah, in the right conditions, I think it's a great shoe. With the Nike Vaporfly 4, I really like how reliable the landings and the transitions feel sort of smooth. There's an energy without kind of wildness. So this is how these two sort of are, I think, at a different end of the spectrum. I certainly think I could get away with running 26.2 in them if I was in good shape and going for it, but they're very light. And I really like shoes that are snappy and responsive and close to the ground. I think a lot of runners may well find that the Vaporfly sweet spot is really anything up to the half marathon. And certainly if you're looking for protection and cushion for the last miles of like a 4-hour plus marathon, then you might be better off reaching for something that's got a bit more cushion, even if that's a carbon shoe. Or non-carbon shoe maybe for that matter, like a Mega Blast would do a good job. If you liked earlier versions of the Vaporfly and found the Vaporfly 3 too mushy, then I think the 4 is a step back to that kind of sort of snappier, more ground feel shoe. They're lighter, which is great. They're more minimal feeling, a bit closer to the ground. There's a bit more connection going on, and that's really how they contrast to the Elite 2. There's a bit of added firmness and snap to the ride here. That was what I quite loved actually about the original Vaporfly, and you get plenty of that back here. Verdict then, and I think you've got two capable shoes that can cover anything up to the marathon. For me, the Endorphin Elite 2 is the sort of faster, bouncier, more energetic shoe, but it's also wilder. It takes a lot of taming. There's a more control to the Vaporfly 4 through that kind of lower stack of less compressive foam. It creates a more direct ride, but it's a bit more sort of balanced and consistent and reliable. It's lighter, it's a bit more minimal, and that might mean it's got a half marathon sweet spot for some runners who want a bit more protection. And the Nike might well kind of suit, or at least be more comfortable and natural on a wider range of runners, potentially a bit more accommodating in terms of that consistency underfoot. The Elite 2 has quite a unique ride. It does, as I said, need a bit of taming. And I'd say it's the more sort of fun shoe of the two to run in. If I was racing a flat, straight line city marathon that was on a really good surface, then it'd be the shoe that I would choose for chasing a PB. There's obviously quite a large gulf in the pricing, and the Elite 2 comes in at a significant premium over the Vaporfly 4. But I think I could probably use the Elite 2 for more races than I'd select the Vaporfly 4 for. So actually, in terms of the value that I might get out of it, I'd probably get more out of the Elite 2 than I would out of the Vaporfly 4. So yeah, I think based on that, I think the Elite 2, it's probably a better shoe that I prefer more, and I'd get more from it. So even though it's more expensive, this would be the one that I would choose.
So my verdict on these two shoes, this is a really easy one. If I'm picking between these two shoes, it's going to be based on my preference and what I want from a shoe. I'm going to go for the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2 because it's bouncy, because it just feels like there's loads of energy return in it. I love running in this shoe. It's fun, and ticks all the boxes for me. I would happily use this for any distance from 5k to marathon, and it just feels really enjoyable. The only thing that it hasn't really got is it lacks a little bit of stability. And I think for a lot of people who don't like soft shoes, you're not going to want to go anywhere near this shoe. The Nike Vaporfly 4, I'm not really a big fan of. I think I've used it for a couple of shorter races, absolutely fine. Finished it and thought that was fine, that was a good shoe for it. I probably would have gone for something like Asics Meta Speedrole Tokyo over that. I actually did a 1 mile race in this, and it felt perfect for a 1 mile race. Light on the feet, didn't really picked up the acceleration really quickly. Pretty much spot on shoe for that race for me. But even then, I would still say the Asics Meta Speedrole Tokyo is a better shoe. It's feels just as light, but it just feels like you're getting all the benefits of the Vaporfly 4, but you're getting a bit more bounce in it as well. So yeah, I'd probably say the Meta Speedrole Tokyo for that, or the Puma Fast R3. I think that's a superior shoe, a bit more aggressive, and just feels like it's doing a lot more. Whereas this just feels like a fast, lightweight shoe that's nippy, but doesn't feel like it's doing loads of performance gains for you. It just feels like it's doing the job of a traditional fast, lightweight shoe. The Elite 2 is really it stands out for that softness and that bounce. So if you want softness and bounce, and you love them, and you want more of it, you're going to get it in this shoe. There's not really anything that you're going to get in the Vaporfly 4 that is that exciting or stands out. So yeah, out of these two shoes, I'm going for the Elite 2 all the way. And to be honest, I think there's just better shoes to go for if you're looking for a standout shoe than the Vaporfly 4, like the Asics Meta Speedrole Tokyo. That's it from us on this Versus. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that little bell. And if you're going to catch me below, you can find it to our podcast, which comes out a couple of times each month. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.